Yeah?
I'm excited. Our downloads are up. It's podcast, Sweat Equity Podcast. For entrepreneurial advice, the #1.
Barbizon rated #1.
Barbizon, Arbitron, Terrestrial Radio, Apple Tunes, iTunes, Apple
Get on it.
Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, Watch, YouTube. We're the #1 rated on all those platforms. Comedy Business Podcast.
Unbelievable.
If you want to help us keep climbing, get that. We don't want to take a knee. We want to have that lead. If you want to help us with that, go on Apple Podcasts app, rate, review, subscribe. That's a free way to help this podcast out. By the time I finish this live read for the ads,
You could be done.
you'd be done. Write something funny.
We'll leave you alone about it.
Write something funny in the ad copy and or in the review copy, and we'll say it on the air.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we're gonna do.
You hit your microphone there. Keep going, buddy.
All right. This episode is brought to you by Roan. Roan is the fanciest of fancy athletic wearables. What would you call it?
Is fancy the best word for it?
I don't like I just like calling the boys that wear
luxurious.
it, that started it, they're fancy guys. And now it's come down to our level.
Yeah.
It's those pretty boy guys that you're like, man, you want to make fun of them, but you're like, that's some good gear.
You look cool, though.
Dude, the stitching with the double X on there, it feels intense wearing it. Roan, try roan.com/sweat, get you $20% off. 20%, not $20, 20% using that link or the promo code BRIDGE20. That hooks this show up. It's tryroan.com/sweat for the best athletic wear out there. The best. The best.
He's the base.
Tryroan.com/sweat, 20% off using that link or the promo code BRIDGE20. BRIDGE20. Man, Roan, you got to try it out. Tryroan.com/sweat. Hit it up. Our feature sponsors, ExpressVPN. Want anonymized web searching? Try expressvpn.com/sweat. Get you 3 months free off an annual plan. That's try expressvpn.com/sweat. 3 months free off an annual plan.
What?
I thought you had something to say.
No, why? Why would I say something about why? I'm not doing anything wrong online. Why would I have something to say about that?
Warby Parker.
Oh my God, get off my back about it, dude.
Warby
You
Parker.
keep bringing it up all the time.
I'm wearing my Warby Parkers right now. I had them 6 years. I can't speak highly of anything I've bought. They're a disruptor in the eyeglass, sunglass wear market. 95.
Except Warby Parker. You
Warby
didn't say
Parker.
that.
WarbyParkerTrial.com/sweat gets you 5 free pairs to try on at home. FreshBooks. Go freshbooks.com/sweat. Get you 30-day free trial on accounting software that gets direct deposits the next day. The next day! That's what I'm talking about. Grasshopper. Try grasshopper.com/sweat. Gets you $75 off an annual plan. 75 bones off an annual plan. Don't be a jabroni with a Google Voice number or your own line picking up for your business. Hello. Or if you're funny, you say No Limit Studios, because that's what I do.
Right.
And that's it. We timed it out perfectly. Let's get this podcast started with My Shower Doors, Keith Daubmann. Howdy, Tyler.
What about my sweat equity? Sweat equity. Sweat equity. My sweat equity. My sweat equity. What about my sweat equity?
We hit that?
Yeah, you can look at the screen.
Yeah, but I'm looking at that too. I didn't know if we're hitting that. Look, man, we're high tech and low tech at the same time. That's how we do it on Sweat Equity. Keith Daubmann, myshowerdoor.com. Anything else to plug before I forget as we talk to you? Anything, any website that we don't know about. Maybe you're big on LinkedIn. Maybe that.
I love LinkedIn, but my shower door is more than sufficient, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, so
What kind of guy?
So I actually talked about you and I meeting on a previous episode a little bit ago about how, and I think I told you I did, about I put a video out there getting over a little bit of vulnerable part of me to push it out there and said, if any contacts I have online need help just kind of spitballing for their business on how to pivot, you were one of the handful of people that actually took up the offer, and we started talking. You're an interesting cat. You're definitely cut from a different. We're definitely we see a lot of things similarly, but you definitely got that motor I don't have naturally. Where you're he's what I would call a sales hunter, and not whereas I'm a sales farmer. Developing relationships long term. You might do both.
Like
but
to hit the road.
You're much better, I think, at the hunter part of it. Whereas that may be applicable why I like the marketing side, because it's a longer thing where we're helping each other out. Tell us about yourself. You've been with them 17 years, something like that?
Yep, 17 years this year. Just a quick backstory. I'm one of the principal owners, along with my younger brother, Douglas. Douglas and I are the children of Bill and Donna Daubmann. What got us into the being entrepreneurs and growing up in a service-oriented business was when I was 12 years old, living in Western Massachusetts, a town called Agawam. I was given the gift of cancer. And my parents didn't have much, very blue-collar town. My mother was a neighborhood beautician. My father was a semi-pro hockey referee at night, installed alarm systems during the day, and really didn't have much, they say, a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out, especially to get me the medical treatment I needed. So it really put their backs up against the rope. And literally in about a 2-month period, they found out what they needed to get, where they needed to get me cured. And they leveraged their home and started the business within about a 2-month window. Wow. And here my brother and I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. So I often tell people cancer was by far the best thing that ever happened to my family. That's where we are today. So now you fast forward 30 years later, this is my 30th year in remission. We're 17 years in the business here in Southwest Florida. We relocated in 2003. My brother and I told my parents to retire, kind of hang it up. And my brother and I wanted to reinvent what we were kind of raised in. And we wanted to do that in Southwest Florida. We left Massachusetts like once to go on a family trip. I mean, I got to tell you, we're a real blue-collar family town. So when we saw Naples, we were awestruck we'd never been around money or the environment to make as much money as that we could see. And so we decided to open a business in 2003 in Naples, Florida. And that's just kind of continued to go up year after year. We're in our 17th year now. We have 9 brick and mortar locations up the west coast of Florida. During the last recession, we vertically grew, positioned ourselves even better, coming in 2010 by adding our own manufacturing facility.
Yeah, that's
the
huge.
Last couple of years. It's huge. Last couple of years, we've been into a lot of training within the organization, especially on these downtimes, like during COVID or whatever you want to call it. They, instead of, just laying people off or furloughing, we reinvested in our employees while we were down and got into the art of negotiating, if you will, more product knowledge, bringing in new product, tightening up all of our processes that we currently had, because like every other disaster, there's going to be an end to it. And we want to be positioned to thrive when we come out of that. So that's kind of where we're at. And so we specialize in heavy glass frameless shower enclosures. And we hope you guys shower and squeegee every time you do.
A lot to work with here. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking, I'm just pulling a lot of different themes out that we've talked about a lot in this show.
I did the math. He's 42.
42.
I figured it out.
That was going to be a question you knew I was going to ask.
I saw that hairline. I was like, ain't no way.
Yeah, I keep it short so you don't see all the gray. I look like Uncle Polly from The
Dude,
Sopranos.
who cares about gray, man?
Yeah, what the hell?
We don't complain about your hair. Cut this thing short.
A lot of themes in there that we could sprawl into a lot of different directions. I'm going to ask one esoteric side note before I get into them. But family business management, all that drama, you brought, or another topic is you brought in the manufacturing into your vertical, which is sometimes the reverse engineering way of doing it. You open more brick and mortar stores in a more internet savvy world. That's another thing. You guys probably have the value of $1 coming from blue collar roots, as you say. Those kind of things where every dollar you make, you really cherish a lot more than if it's given to you, if something's just handed to you. Reinvesting in your own labor, negotiation, and compromise was a weird philosophical conversation we had via LinkedIn Messenger last week, I think.
Compromise with who?
He just asked me a very. You ask it the way you probably, because
Okay.
I'll probably butcher how you asked it, but it was very like,
Eric,
what the fuck?
Eric, what is your feeling on compromise?
It's usually necessary. You know.
Really, what makes makes it necessary?
This is how he asked.
No,
it.
I'm gonna.
This is a business.
Let me lead.
We talked a lot of business, right? So there's a context. So it's like he just sends me. Let me ask you a question, and then sends that question. I'm like, I think I said I could either be very short like that, or I could write about 20,000 words.
Well, sure.
I want to. Well, let's add some context to this conversation. I had really known you. We had a very nice conversation. I like to have a baseline on who I'm talking with. You know, it's like, you know, I stopped getting into bar fights when you underestimate. You know, you never know what you're going up against, and so I always like to ask a baseline question to see what I'm going up against. And for me, I like to see when I'm talking business with someone what your opinion is on the word compromise. I happen to think it's an extremely dirty word. I think under no circumstance is compromise healthy for either side. You know, would you compromise your principles? Would you compromise your morals?
Well, that word can have a very wide range of applications too. You know, I'm not compromising my morals, but if there's a conflict between two businesses or, you know, somebody's buying a business or whatever, you know, compromise is definitely going to come into play.
Really? Give me an example. I would argue.
I mean, just a negotiation for the price of something.
Let's draw a fine line between the word negotiation and bargaining. There's a big difference. Bargaining would just be going, you know, I can't pay that, I need to pay this, and you're haggling back and forth. Where, you know, negotiation is more of a fact-finding mission. You know, a lot of times people compromise because it's the easy way out of an uncomfortable situation because we're not used to trying to find, you know, in any dealing that you do, whether you're talking to a spouse or another business associate, both people come to the table with kind of the unknown unknowns. Like right now, I have secrets that maybe you guys want to ask me, and there's information you guys have that I don't know.
Just stop right here.
Yeah.
Let's hear these secrets.
Yeah. You dropped a bar fight little thing.
Yeah,
just dropped that on the ground. Don't think I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But what you'd be surprised how many people wouldn't have to compromise if they were willing to ask the right questions and get the other side comfortable and trusting you enough to open up to find out what, you know, the best deal that could possibly be made by two people is having all the cards on the table. And more often than not, somebody compromises because it's usually a con. You know, people, you know, the person that often has to meet in the middle is a poor judge of distance. You know, if I'm going out to buy a piece of real estate with my wife on the side and we only have a budget of, you know, 175 and they're asking 200, I'm going to offer 150 and I'm going to go on the song and dance how we don't have any money. And then I'm going to say, we should just compromise and meet in the middle. And that was really a con job. Instead of, you know, the other person, if they were a seasoned negotiator, they would have asked all these questions and got to find out that there actually probably wasn't a deal to be had in the first place, instead of just giving up $25,000 because they were conned into thinking the compromise was the right way out of the situation. So you know, each individual situation, I think, lends itself to different circumstances. But I bet if you really looked at it, very rarely is compromise if you have good morals and integrity, because even lying will come back to bite you. You know, no deal is one-off deal.
Don't point that.
Whether it's with a car guy, whether it's a car guy or something, you know, during implementation, somebody feels like they've been burned, they're going to want to get even with you. So, yeah, I don't like the word compromise. You know,
so you
it's
feel
a good
like
when a husband, or God.
You feel like it's sort of an immoral, like usually when you're compromising, you think it's because it's more of a lot because you're not asking the right questions and you're kind of just cutting out the work.
I think it's the lazy way out of the situation.
Okay.
It's a quick way.
Okay.
Well, the scenario you gave, right? You went right into a business scenario. So when you're trying to give a Rorschach test, I think, of asking this question to see, am I going to go business or personal with this? I went philosophical, which I tried to think was both. Without really strategizing on it. On the business side, I would say the context for a lot of people is the strategy, right? People go into a car lot, and that in the example on a personal side, they go into a car lot, or you could consider that a business transaction. The way you have to go about it is they're going into it with a context and a strategy, right? Doesn't mean they want to compromise. The business scenario you gave was like a chutes and ladders scenario where you went back and forth once each side, the other side, not your side, which I'm seeing a little ego, which is good. I don't think it's bad, but the ego to get the job done, right? To have that conversation that's icky to a lot of people. But in the scenario you gave, you're talking back and forth. The other side relinquishes immediately to a compromise to meet in the middle as like a chutes and ladders, like cheat. Let's skip all this back and forth and let's get to the middle, which you see as a weakness. That's fair too. There's also, I think it's more strategy and philosophy where in a criminal defense situation is another way to look at this scenario where my boy Mark,
Cut a deal.
right. That's basically all they do is
Right.
And
Well, that's what they want to do.
or
Most of the
family
time.
law attorneys, a lot of the scummy ones, that's the industry, it's pretty scummy. A lot of them say, you have a good divorce agreement when both sides think they got fucked. And so it has to have context or this could be wildly different. And I like how you asked the question to see, I think you're trying to see where we're going to answer it from, but it also tells us a lot about you, which is the exact reason you ask the question, right? So inherently, you're asking a flawed question, which I think you know is flawed, to see if we can understand you, but you want to understand us. Did I go Inception, meta level psychology on you?
He's like, no, not at all.
You made a lot of good points, but there's multiple facets to small talk and questioning, but
It's not a fun question to ask if you know the answer, right?
Yeah.
well, at a point of compromise, I still under zero circumstance believe in compromise, under any circumstance.
Are you married?
I am.
You are? How
Does
long?
that mean we should always both be unhappy?
No. I was just curious.
Are you
It's a
gonna-
completely separate question? I was just thinking about it.
Is there a mail order bride situation?
Looking at that hairline?
Where
Somebody
there's
else scoop this guy up.
100%
No.
of like decisions are made by you.
15 years. I can tell you,
You've never
Since
compromised.
I have gotten better on not compromising by making sure that
You just compromise
I
your
go
answer to
into-
compromise.
I know
We did it.
the one
Cracked
scenario.
This
Listen,
is why-
I'm
this
still
is why I know
learning
you,
too, man.
No, this is why you're a great guest.
I'm learning.
This is why we had a bromance when we talked on Zoom the first time. I was like, I like where you're coming from because you'll admit, like, I knew you were about to get flustered and just go, fuck.
Well, yeah, I mean, dude,
We
we like to break it down for sure. We'll break it right on down.
But
with
Eric,
it.
you know, like in the comedy scene, there's people you become fast friends with just through that.
Sure, yeah.
And, you don't have to know their whole life story, and that's
Yeah.
how I felt with Keith. I was like, I immediately liked the dude and liked talking shit with him, but I want to call it out too. You know?
Sure. I would hope Keith appreciates that.
Of course.
He
I
sees
got this
everything
Is
shit.
as
Keith still there?
Everything is a learning situation, like you're saying. But keep going with your wife.
Having these conversations.
So we
Let
hope
me
we're
give you.
done with
I want
that.
to give you an example.
We can edit
Let me
this
give you
out.
an example how I'm getting better. Yeah, I don't think so.
I'm kidding. I'm
She
kidding.
knows-
We don't edit.
She's getting savvy. I'm a golf addict. I like to play golf. Every weekend I play golf. In the past, I've been known to I make the tea time with my friends, or I'd be asked, and of course I oblige and say yes, I'll be there. And then I go ask my wife, and I feel like she already knows that I scheduled the tea time, and she immediately gets irate, and we go on this back and forth. And I used to compromise, and if I did that, that means she get to do this. And all well, if I just asked her before, all she wanted was the control of telling me it was okay. And so I didn't have to go into this reciprocity thing where if I do this, she gets to do this. Whereas if I just did it the right way and had this conversation with her, and asked her in a way with empathy. And she says, no, of course I want you to go play. You go play. And all of a sudden, I'm not doing this, oh shit, I don't want to go talk to her. My boy's like, dude, hurry up and talk to the wife. And I've started to get better on how to unwind these conversations, to really, I think true negotiation is the art of letting the other person have your way. And when you can really either ask in the right way or say no in a different way that triggers them to kind of slowly let out these unknown unknowns, you can usually find a way to go through that door without having to compromise.
Yeah.
You got to be able to listen. You got to be a good listener.
That's a good example.
Got to be a very good listener.
That's a good example of putting in that awkward conversation at the beginning, and then you're not having to compromise. And that's, I see that side of it.
It could be a way of dancing around the real psychology of what's going on too. I'm going to play devil's advocate on that and say, you could be she just might want to feel included in the schedule is another thing to look at. Right. And that's where
that was the magic thing, to not have this reciprocity thing. It's like, hon, I know you're going to kill me right now. You probably think that I already scheduled tea time, and no, I don't want to kill. Okay. I was hoping with your permission that I could go play golf with my friends. Yeah, of course. Why are you even asking me? And now it's not a problem. But before, if I just scheduled it and went to her, it's a big deal. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm still going to play golf, but it was the process in getting there. Whereas if I gave her the control, there was no problem.
Yeah.
But when I tried to shove it, or hide it, it bit me in the ass every time.
So you find the no compromise, no middle ground method to your success. It's one of the keys to success, I would say. Is that how you're going about your, call it daily habits or work habits, or what do you want to call it? Routine?
There's always another way. There's always another way. Never be so sure of what you want that you're not willing to take something else.
Huh?
Say that again. Sorry, I was trying to
never be so sure of what you want that you're not willing to take something else.
Okay. So we talking like barter?
I go to my wife and say, I got to play golf this weekend, and I'm expecting to play Saturday. I got to play. Would you be against me playing this week? She says, we got that family thing, and she goes, but why don't you play Sunday in the next 2 weeks? Now, normally, going into that conversation, I'm looking for a yes on Saturday. Anything other than a yes is a loss. But if she says, why don't you go play Sunday and both days next weekend? Well, geez, now that just freed me. Never be so sure of what you want, you're not willing to take something else.
And look, we're probably.
Let me give you another example in business.
I was going to make a side note that we're probably using personal examples because those are easier than giving up business ones that are exacting or precise to what you're doing. Because then, let's say you have a previous client or current client or prospective client that actually stumbles upon this because you're a LinkedIn whore as I am, and you'll probably promote this out there because it's another good thing you're doing. Everything you do well is a marketing opportunity, as you kind of do innately, that you're not giving specific business examples because you don't want to out yourself in any way.
No.
Where another listener could be like, man, you fucked me. No, I'm just saying that might be a side note to the audience listening.
Absolutely not. I want to be fully transparent. I want people to end up doing a deal with me and saying, not only was that a good deal, I'd do business with that guy again. I am under no circumstance trying to slave people or take full advantage. Especially with the internet, it's very easy to get outed on being a snake oil salesman. That's not the case. It's tactical. These are human being traits that we can use.
You can still be transparent. I'd like to say translucent, as your persona online, but because you're not going to give the whole everything away in your life, to an online brand or persona or whatever, no matter who you are. Yeah. We talk pretty openly on this show, but there's probably like 3% we're holding back, because there's other people involved in a lot of things that's going on, or other business decisions that it'd be selfish to talk about everything so openly. But I was just saying to the audience listening, it's like, why are we getting into this this kind of home dynamic, and it's a little easier to make an example.
It's an easy example to look at, and everybody can translate that.
Right, because you know already implicitly with your wife that she won't care if you're using that as an example, right? Whereas anybody that you might be doing business with or have, they might be upset but not really paying attention, like we all kind of do now, right? You know, a lot of people think this shows a lot of different things without actually listening to it, which is funny to me. So it's that I kind of think in that terms. They see the impression of this going up, the friends of friends that they're like, oh yeah, man, you guys got a dick for a tie as a logo. I don't think I can come on there. I'm like, if you want to go deep.
Somebody said that? Who said that?
We've had a lot
Out
of
them right now. Enough of this.
There's about 3 dozen, but
Really?
lawyers, a lot of people that have.
It's not even that obvious. It's
lot of
just a
people-
tie. It's not a dick. Did you tell them it was a dick? You did, didn't you?
No. They bring it to me.
Did you say dick when you were talking?
I'm not negotiating.
You
I'm
said
bringing
dick.
it up. I'm not bringing it up. I just go, you want to come on the show? Because why would I give away what I think would be a weakness in selling and them coming on the show? It creates more
You didn't
work.
say dick once in these negotiations.
No.
No compromise.
No, this
Fine.
is over 5 years of us doing this.
Okay.
Right? So it's not like 3 dozen people. It's like no big deal, right?
Okay.
But I'm saying like,
Surprise.
I'm saying that scenario is a lot easier, but your motor, I'm interested. Give me your routine. I like asking people this that have a high motor like you do. You've got the inertia. We know your why, and that's something I always like to find out. And you kind of gave it to us in a great kind of origin story, biography. By the way, time out. This is what I wanted to ask. We were watching the Eastern Conference Finals last night. You said your dad was a hockey ref. And we were literally Eric and I
we
last
were
night,
talking about hockey refs last night.
we were watching the Lightning playing the Islanders, and I was like, I bet hockey refs get more shit from players than any other sport because they're probably they do that jump where they have to jump and it doesn't look cool ever.
Oh, that's what you meant because of the little hop. So
That
they don't...
and just they're former. I don't know if they're ever played hockey or they just get into reffing.
They all played hockey.
I don't know.
You see them skate, dude?
You tell
they
me.
skate. Awesome.
But we talked about it for a good 5 minutes.
What's your opinion, Keith?
Every referee and linesman I've ever met started off playing hockey, and each one of them would tell you, I'll probably get in trouble for this, especially for my father. Those are the ones that couldn't make it to that level. So the next best thing would be a front row seat,
and they
on the rink.
They love rules. Like they love it.
Yeah, I think they're good arbiters of the rules. Yeah, like most football referees are attorneys.
Yeah, good call. Very good call.
So do you think hockey refs get more shit from the players than any other sport? I didn't think so. The hockey
most
players
of them.
seem nice
I think
most of the time.
I
They
think they're-
fight each other.
They're the most underrated ref, but get the most shit from players.
I don't know.
They're like nurses.
The
Nurses are the most overworked occupation in the country, and the least get least fawn on.
Right. Well, not recently, but before that.
Still, I still think the praise they get is still pretty low, all things considered. Working 12-hour shifts and all this.
I'm just
craziness.
saying football. I mean, really, I thought hockey would be like the last one. Baseball umps, you don't think they don't get the most shit from players?
Yeah,
Come
but
on.
baseball umps, I feel like it's a lower barrier to entry. I feel like you could just be a sack of shit and be an ump
That has nothing to do with it. What does that have to do with it?
because you have to be athletic to do a hockey ref
Okay, but why would they get more shit for being athletic? Wouldn't they get less
because
shit?
of the passion of the game, and you're not
You're
not
all,
on
he's
equal.
out. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
I got two-
He's
all right.
just all spun up.
I'm all spun out.
He doesn't know.
I'm just excited you're here. No, so I had to ask because we've never talked about hockey refs ever,
Yeah, weird.
and you brought it up, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah, very weird.
So you've been doing this 17 years. You've got a motor. I'm interested. What's the daily routine? What's something someone listening can take away? What do you have a normal time you get up? What are you eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? I want to know some minutia.
I get up at 5:30 every morning. Then I take a piss.
Yep.
Nice.
Usually
Details,
check
good.
my
Details, man.
Yeah, no, I love it. Keep going.
Go through my LinkedIn. I try and fire off 100 connection requests. I go to the gym every day at 5:45. Out of the gym at 5:45. back home, start up the shower, send out another 100 LinkedIn connections.
Wow.
Jump in my scooter and head down to Naples. That's our original brick and mortar store in North Naples. And
What time you get there?
I'm getting there. I'm rolling in after Dunkin' Donuts. Of course, have to get my coffee.
See?
Rolling in about quarter after 8.
You got a Dunkin' Donuts fetish like I do. It's bad.
Yeah. And then I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately. Of course, this is my latest craze. So I'm just trying to consume as much business-oriented, sales-oriented podcast on the way in. So I got about a 20-minute commute every day.
On your scooter?
Yeah. In my scooter. My Chevy Avalanche.
Oh, okay.
And then are you
Really
you
hope it
go,
was a real scooter.
you know, from the time you get in, you settle in, maybe 9 to 11, you're making calls or something. What's the average day? You can make it
so
pretty broad, but
I kind of act like a hype man at our facility. There's 6 other salespeople, 2 inside. For their exterior, we go over all the appointments they have that week, any possible opportunities in the pipeline that anybody wants me to touch, or if, we're trying to work a new community or a new client that we're trying to get in with. So we're game planning. We have each one of our stores is commission based relative to the store. So we got 9 teams. They have 12 games a year. These bonuses are paid monthly. So we're kind of trying to maximize our time every day. So it's the same routine every day. It's a meetings, going over all the opportunities, coaching up for a little bit. We do a little role play because as we're growing.
A daily stand-up meeting, as they call it. Like 15, 20 minutes.
I guess tops.
Yep.
Tops.
Yep.
Just enough to keep everybody's attention, get them fired up, and get them out of there.
It's an agile work methodology. You're not having meetings that bore people. You've got salespeople that don't have that attention span, nor do you maybe leading it.
Nor do I.
Yeah.
I actually hate it.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's necessary. It's like going to the gym. You need
Of course.
To do it. Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, keep going.
Then I get into my day. I'm still actively chasing opportunities for our architectural division and growing that. It's a subset of our factory that we started about 6 years ago. So we have my shower doors, our standalone brand, and we've kind of branched off into the architectural world, which would encompass glass wine cellars, glass railings, office partition, podcast booths, if you will, a lot of heavy frameless glass. Basically glorified shower doors on an architectural level.
So
I've been
You've been pivoting, because you're a manufacturer, like a lot of manufacturers I talk to for my day job, which is they're going, okay, what else can we make, right? And sometimes you figure it out before something like COVID happens. Sometimes you do it with in a little bit of contingency panic mode. But either way, that's great.
Move,
that's
dude.
awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's
and it's
so smart.
honestly a need, because I see a lot of people kind of arguing about the interior design of offices lately. And I feel like if you could kind of go, hey, we got this thing that can double as this thing over here, that might be a whole other brand for you that is low risk but high reward, spending some.
And especially if they know that investment could end up bringing more dollars and profitability to their bottom line. They used to call them out in California. Everybody said, I want my office to be like Google. I want it to be like Google, which meant all glass. But what Google actually found out was taking somebody out of a 4 sheetrock office cubicle, now turning 3 walls into glass, lets in a lot more light. It triggers some chemical that is more beneficial to the human being, puts them in a better mood. Consequently, if you're in a better mood, you're more likely to come up with more collaborative ideas and be more efficient proficient at your job. And so now that's kind of found its way to Florida, and we're really capitalizing on that as people start remodeling and looking in places to invest their money back into their business.
Keith, do you guys do anything with where you flip a switch and the glass goes from regular to opaque?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Do you do that?
Switch light. Yeah. We not only do we do it, we manufacture it, and it's called switch light glass. It's electrified glass. A lot of opportunities for that.
That's just
really
awesome.
cool product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's in it?
Yeah.
Can I? Is it too super complicated, or is it? Can you get it done?
No, it's actually real easy. So it's actually 2 pieces of glass with a laminate film in between, but the film is made of a silica that is triggered by a low voltage electricity that brings everything into a line. So when the electricity's not on, it's kind of scattered. And when the electricity hits it, everything straightens out and it makes it transparent, on a microscopic level.
Yeah.
For those listening, you've got your hands over each other. The fingers are flush with each other, like you're doing a prayer, but separating the fingers together. And then you're saying like almost like an aperture of some sort. The electricity.
Yeah, it just
closes.
lines up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I saw that. Dude, I saw that on Dave Attell's Insomniac, the show on Comedy Central, like
20 years ago.
25
Jeez.
maybe. And I was like, that's the coolest shit. Why isn't that everywhere? Like every bathroom stall door, I thought in the future will have this. So you don't have
Why
to.
does it?
But figure me out.
Why
Listen,
would those ever need to be?
because then you never have to
clear?
look underneath, like in a like an
Okay,
office environment
fine.
where it's really
I
nice.
gotcha. All right.
Where you have to
Fine.
like. I used to work in a mutual fund company with like literally one guy won a Nobel Prize for economics, and I'm like, oh, sorry, like knocking on the doorways, taking a shit.
You
and you're
walked
like,
in on him.
God damn, like we can't figure this shit out in here, literally. But like, I always thought that was cool. I think as offices are going to become more multi-purpose or home offices, like, man, think about having the home office where, like, I was telling you, I had to watch my kids. I had the stand-up desk. I had to watch my kids in the same room. But if I could just like flick it on to a little like partition that's like, when that's on, they know dad's on the phone.
What if every wall in your house is like that? You can make
Right.
all these different iterations of rooms,
And then you
giant
can
rooms,
open it up.
small rooms,
Yeah.
coming out of the floor, the ceiling, whatever.
We
they go up
wanted
and
it
down.
in the old studio and
You
office.
can have that with Keith if you
we
wanna
wanted to
use
do
that
that too, but yeah, man.
We'll send you the royalties.
Yeah.
Well, I maybe could introduce you to iOffice. We interviewed the CEO a while back. She was awesome to come on the podcast, and that's all they do is the real corporate interior design like that. Same with Advantages.net, the CEO over there, Fran Biederman. Gross, I think. I'm gonna screw her last name out, but what's it called? Those are two introductions I might be able to make for you because I didn't know you were doing that. We didn't get that far in this Brodio bromance.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, look, man, I want to have you back on because we just kind of hit the tip of the iceberg with some of this. We try to keep it to about 33 minutes. We always ask everybody the same question that comes up for the first time. What advice would you give your 13-year-old self?
His
Be a
13-year-old
better
self
listener.
had cancer too, though.
Yeah.
Maybe bump it
Just
ahead
riddle-
before or after.
I would be a better
Don't change
listener
it.
by far.
Better listener.
Better listener, for sure.
Okay.
And not only would I listen to the advice that was given to me. So often, people ask for advice. I see this a lot now as I'm getting older, and younger people are coming in underneath and asking certain questions, and they take the time and muster up to come ask you for advice, and then you give it to them, and it falls on deaf ears. And I think that happens a lot. And some of my greatest successes that I've had in growing through our business is when I've taken somebody's advice, especially somebody that I respected. Would never take anybody's advice that I wouldn't be willing to trade places with.
Yeah, we find
So I'd be a better listener.
we find that when people ask for advice, they're not really asking for advice. They're asking for you to
Reinforce their
yeah,
ideas.
Yeah. So that's a constant kind of theme we see from that question.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, I want to have you on another time this month, and
Yeah.
you got some interesting stuff going on. It might be a longer pod if we
my
want.
sweat
But
equity?
we didn't schedule a live one right after this. But if you want to ask us questions,
Sweat equity. My sweat
Hey, man.
equity.
we need that LinkedIn promotion from him. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to share it. And I appreciate both of you for having me on your show.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on.
All right, brother.
What
See you
about
later.
my sweat
All right.
equity?
Have a good one.